Namaste friends, I am Anju here and today we are going to talk about women's role in Hindu society. As we all know that where women stand nowadays in the society, so let's discuss this a little more with our very own Miss Sandhya. I'm inviting her for the topic in general.
Thank you, sir.
Hello Sandhya ji.
Thank you very much.
So Sandhya ji, today as we know where women are where do they stand today? So we would really like to, could you tell us how women have been treated in our society anciently? How women were treated in our society? If we can start with their education, please.
Okay. This is very interesting topic, Anjuji. Let me give you a little background. We have now seen or read, or many places we come across about the Hindu women being oppressed and that they are being abused and they are being always treated badly in the society. This is kind of the image has been created that women were always oppressed in the society. This is far from true actually. The reason is, if you go back to the ancient period, where you can see, I'm talking about the Puranas and
Yes.
that. But those days we always had the rishis were the intellectuals one, and then rishikas, that women scholars. The men and women scholars always existed. They had their own gurukul, they had their own the platforms where they could debate out.
Absolutely.
And right, and if you see, there are like the list of some almost 132 the rishikas where I've just come across. So this the going to the school, studying and being expert in a particular area was always part of our society, and which was appreciated.
Right.
Now, if you look at the another very popular example is Kaikeyi. Kaikeyi was Rama's stepmother.
Yes.
And she got two bones and she misused them, and then she sent Rama for exile. But if you go a little back and to see how did she get that, how she is actually highly educated and she was expert in the warfare. She again fought the battles along with her husband. Without the education and without acquiring the knowledge and the skill, it is not possible to participate in the highly skilled battle, right? And then over there, she helped her husband to win the war. Axis of her chariot was, fell down, and that she could not put it back. So she knew that if the chariot falls, then her husband will lose the battles. So she put her hand inside the wheel of the chariot and she stabilized the chariot, and so that her husband, that is Dashrath, Rama's father, could win the war and win the battle actually. And once that battle is won, then he realized what kind of that alertness and the talent she has shown, and she saved him, and then he saw that
Women were always talented, but they were suppressed, I think so, somehow.
It's not a suppressed or something. They had the option.
Okay.
They had the option to go to school,
Yes.
study,
Yes.
be expert in certain areas depending on their choices. Like if you're looking at the choices, let me give you the example of the choices. The choices, they always had even selecting their own groom as well, right? It's not just women were married off to anyone. If you
Right.
see the first, the Swayamvar, let me go back to the Vishnu Puran, where we say that how the Swayamvar has basically started. The Swayamvar, when Lakshmi Ma appeared from the ocean,
Yes.
as the ocean's daughter, that is a time the demons and the deities both started fighting off, because it was decided, agreed that whatever comes from the ocean, they would divide it equally. And demon as wanted to take Lakshmi Ma away, and as well as the deities. So that is a time the Brahma came and he said, she is came as she's a sahodara. She is a Ocean's daughter and my sister, so I must do a justice to her. She is not an item, she is not a thing which you can just divide. She is a person with her own soul, with her own views and own emotions. So it will be her right to choose a man of her choice. But in our society, women are shy, and at times they cannot express their opinion. So we will have that Varmala as a system. Whoever she wants, she feels confident about a man whom she thinks she can marry and live her life with. She will put that garland around his neck and tell the world that she has selected the man.
Oh,
And
so
the
they were
same.
given choice.
Yes, yes. And this is the same, exactly the process started as a Swayamvar. Swayamvar, it means Swayam means I, Var means selecting, right? I am selecting the Var. Var means groom, of course. I'm like Swayamvar is a basically word for selecting the groom. And over there also, the king used to invite all suitable princes from various states, and the princess would basically hold her Varmala, and with or without some condition, she would select a man of her choice as her husband. So this is the process of Swayamvar. So if we are looking back from the ancient days, you will see there are various actually examples are there, and if you can analyze even from the temple artifacts and all, those all will depict women are dancing, they're into fashion, they're into art, literature, there are so many things that are involved.
Sorry, I would like to interrupt. But where does the education stand here? Like this is they were given the choice for marriage, right? And after that, what about their education and what about their rights once they are married?
Yes, the rights we always talked about that. If you look at the one part of the right, it means that they have always had an equal right in everything what they did. If you see, unlike the other places, but the women or the king and queen, they always sat together in the darbar and they made a decision on the choices, right? And as a queen, she also had her say, and she would at times advise her husband. When you are looking at those, the old darbar pictures, you will always see.
Yes.
Even when we are worshipping, whether the Shankar and Parvati,
Yes.
right? Or it is
They
Vishnu
are
and
always in
Lakshmi
a couple.
Ram. Right, they're always in a couple, so they have an equal right. They were equal, and the position in the society was at par with the husband. There was nothing as a less or more, and it is more of a complementing, not competing with each other. So this is where it is misunderstood by many in the current scenario. There were issues happened in the last 1,000 years or maybe a little longer because of the various reasons, because the society has changed. But if you go back to previous the century, or I wouldn't say century, if you go back to like 1,000 years ago, but the situation was different actually.
Okay. So what about right now? What is the current scenario of the women in our society? What is the current, like we see many things happening against women. She's not secured. Wherever she goes, she's not secured. She always need a man. Why so when we talk about equality for women?
Where she needs a man.
Man. Wherever,
No, where is she needs man? Now
why
it is
so many
different.
rape cases and all these things are
Okay.
happening in our society?
Now this is a little off track, but
Okay.
yeah. But let me tell
Yeah.
you. Still, I want to tell you.
Achha.
This is again a Western media.
Achha.
If you see any country you go, there are the rape cases are there. There is no country in the world there is no crime against women. Everywhere there are there. But the only difference between India and other countries is that they report it as a crime, and in India they create a narrative. Narrative means one incident they will tell 1,000,000 times, and appearing or making it look like the happened 1,000,000 times. So, which is wrong, and of course there are many other the reasons are there. But let me tell you, this is not right. Okay, first of all, there should not be any crime I
Absolutely.
totally against that.
Yes.
But in case, unfortunately, if something happens, it is women have to be, what we call teaching their own sons from the very young age that to respect women,
Respect.
and
Yes,
also
yes.
not only respect women but also not to be dormant for the women. Like you have extreme views of that, where the women are totally dominating husband or they are totally submissive. It has to be somewhere balanced.
Somewhere balanced.
And also, if you see, women are oppressed by their own son. Not forget about their father, right? Or their husband or father, but their own son. Because then when the new the daughter-in-law comes, she doesn't want her son, her mother-in-law, and then there is another part of the story starts. So those are very different kind of situations what we talk about. Okay, so it is let us not mix that right now,
Yes.
but I want to basically focus on that, how this the role of women in the ancient society. Okay. Let me again talk about it. We always say that the women were oppressed. Yes, they for some time they did, but the value of women and the position was very high in the ancient society, because we used to say yatra narya tu ramante tatra devata, yatra etantu na pujyate sarvastram afalan kriya. This is basically written in Manusmriti. Manusmriti is basically abused by many people, saying that this is against women. But actually, it is this is not true. In this shloka it says that where women are adored or given the respect, that's where the God likes to stay. Okay, and where the women are given ill treatment, at such places God will never stay, and those places are never prospered. So if this is our ancient teaching, how do we basically say that women were not respected in ancient India? Let me give you another example. Bhishma was known as a Ganga Putra.
Yes.
Karna's name was Radha, so he was known as a Radheya. Arjuna was known as a Kaunteya. Abhimanyu was a Subhadra's son, so he was known as Arjuni. And then the son of Pandavas, they were known as Draupadeyas. Okay, and Drona was known as Bharadwaja. Okay, Shakuni was known as a Sulbha's son. That was Saubala. So let's not basically forget that they were also known mother's name. Like, it is not like always a patriarchal what we call society. We always had both mother and father had equal status. Even if you see, Krishna is always known as a Devakinandan, right? Let me talk about these 7 Pharahs or Saptapadi, what we say during the marriage. A lot of time, we hear that Saptapadi is oppressing, or it is not giving the equal values to women in the society. But if you look into that Saptapadis and the meaning of each and every Pharah, so you will be very surprised. Let me give you the explanation. These are the various conditions the bride is putting on the groom before taking each padi means each steps, or each encircling, right, around the fire. So she is telling the groom to take the vows. Okay, but both of them together, these 7 vows are there. The first vows, it says that it is a prayer to the basically deity for provisioning and nourishment and prosperity within the marriage. Okay, so we are basically invoking the God and invoking their blessings for this marriage. The second step, they says that the strength in the sickness, health, good times and the bad times, both. So we being together during all this time. The third steps, they says prosperity for the Hindu bride and groom. Okay. So we are again what we call seeking the blessings from the God for the prosperity as well as for the what we call wealth. And the fourth they talk about it is basically women is telling that we should stand by our families. Family, we are talking about both the families, the girl's family, the bride as well as the groom's family. So we here we mention that I will agree to take the step only if you agree to treat my parents equally, and the same goes that I will treat your parents equally and respectfully, you know. So this is what. And then we talk about the fifth vow is for progeny. Sixth vow is for the health. We talk about that we will be loving and staying together during the sickness, or this is what we say. And the same is basically bride is asking the groom also to do the same, that he will be there with her till the end. And here we are talking about the Saptapadi is not only for this life but for 7 lives. Then the last one we talk about the friendship. The seventh vow is for the love and the friendship. Here we are talking about the equality. So she is asking about that, okay, you basically love. Okay. So where is the question of the man is superior or women is superior? She is putting the conditions that yes, I will do this for you, you also have to do the same for me and my family. So those are the conditions, and I will only take the step and I come into Vama Anga, you know. I will come into your warm anga means I will be part of this process only when you agree to do this. These are the Saptapadi. So these are not only the vows or the promises to each other, but also a kind of a condition a bride is putting across to the groom, and she is ensuring that okay, these are the areas, these are the things where we want. In this also she is telling that you have to make me part of every rituals or every decision. So here we are also talking about the equality, right? So husband and wife were always equal, and this is what the Manusmriti is talking about. Unfortunately, when the young people talk about the Manusmriti, they have not read about it. But the Manusmriti, what the previous shloka when I talked about respecting the women, or this 7 Saptapadi, or we are talking about Varmala concept, they are all coming from Manusmriti. So when we talk about this is the social basically structure they created for happy family and happy society, you know. Yeah. I will just conclude this with one part. If you see, the women were always respected in ancient time, and if anybody does anything wrong, then it was mentioned that we should not forgive him or her. The reason is that if we forgive them, then women condition will deteriorate and this will become a norm in the society. For example, when the Ramayana happened, the mighty king Ravana abducted Sita, who was Sri Rama's wife. So abducting other man's wife or any other woman is wrong. So Sri Ram said that is against the law of the society. If we allow him or if I forgive him, so that society will think that this is accepted, yes, and the women condition will further deteriorate. So this is not accepted. We must bring the justice to Sita Ma, as well as we must punish what we call Ravan for what he did. So this is what the Ramayana is. Ramayana talks about the character building. Ramayana talks about what is the ideal character one should have as a man. Also, basically, it teaches us you can't forgive some of the sins. You can't forgive some of the actions. The forgiveness is mentioned everywhere in this Hinduism. However, some of the things you cannot forgive. Same is basically repeated in the Mahabharata when the princess Draupadi was disrobed in the bar or in the court. So at that time, that was very wrong, because no matter how good you do, whatever you do, everything is accepted. But treating women badly and disrobing was the most humiliating experience for any women in front of other women. So that is not acceptable, and that kind of an act is never forgiven. So Krishna said this to Arjuna, that you cannot forgive people who have done this act and who have kept quiet during the act and who did not basically raise their voice against this act. So that is not acceptable. If we make this as a norm, then there will be anarchy in the society, and women will have a very hard time in surviving in the society. So the example of Ramayana and Mahabharata is equally telling you that you must respect women, and something is acceptable and something is just not acceptable. And then the Samaj or the society or this must fight against the ills in the society. This is exactly the message from the Ramayana and Mahabharata.
Thank you.
Thank you.